What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the market so far, what you should be watching for as time progresses, what the news is saying about the markets, and some very important levels. But before I break things down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. This offer ends in just 8 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So looking at SPY, we saw this thing continuing to sell off in the morning, came down to this 418 support before buyers stepped in to try to defend it, and now it's just barely testing 420 as resistance. So yes, the market could drop a little bit more, but we're going to be anticipating some kind of like bounce, some kind of rebound as bulls will try to defend most likely very soon. Not saying it's going to be a huge bounce, a massive. We could just see a small bounce attempt by the markets very soon. And yes, as of right now, we're still a little bit red in the pre-market, but we're going to be watching to see that over the next couple of days. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm calling like the much larger, the massive bounce for the market is coming later on. It may not truly happen until like the November period for the much larger uptrend that we've been talking about on this channel. For now, there is still some selling that's going on, so we're going to be watching some very key levels. I am anticipating a small bounce though very, very soon, and I'm going to break down why that is and some other levels, and then also how the market's looking for the time being. Now, when it comes to news affecting the markets, we're starting to see yields increasing, which is causing the stock market to continue to fall. We're still not ready yet for a big change. And it's going to take a little bit longer until we get to that November period when things could change, in my opinion. Now, for now, the market's remaining a little weak because of some previous comments by Jerome Powell, which is continuing to cause the 10-year Treasury yield to increase in value and still leading to more fear in the markets. There's some news that's coming out about how Alphabet's Google is once again going to be going through more and more scrutiny, from the EU and the US, not to mention its move to Japan, which is just leading to all these anti-competitive allegations. So that's some new news. The oil consolidation is ramped up as Chevron said it's going to buy Hess, which is a $53 billion all-stock deal. Besides that, we have some big tech earnings. For Tuesday, we have GM, Coca-Cola, Alpha, and just a couple of others. Wednesday's when we have IBM and Meta. And then for Thursday, we have Comcast, Amazon, and Intel all announcing their earnings. And once again, with yields going up, this is continuing to slow the markets down, but I just see this as another buying opportunity. I will break more information about that down over the next few minutes. This is how our earnings calendar is looking. We have the big earnings between Tuesday and Thursday. For today, we just had a couple of banks, which are going to be coming out soon. So we'll see what happens with them. So now let's break down some important levels. So unfortunately, SPY is still looking kind of weak. It ended up breaking below 420, and we're barely holding 418, but it looks like it could still see a little bit more downside before we get that bounce. The market is once again looking a little bit weaker as we're seeing yields continuing to climb. So on SPY, you're going to be watching this 418 to 417.5 support. We have a nice support zone right here as bulls are trying to defend, but now we're testing 420 as resistance. So if we drop a little bit more, we could drop below this 417.5 area. The next level is going to be 416.29. Then we have 415 to 414, but 415 is where we have some key support as well. So I could see it drop a little bit more. It could continue to sell off just a tiny bit more, but I do believe that some buyers should be stepping in around these levels here. And either watch this 418 area to see if we could bounce here, if not all the way down to 415, and then a really nice bounce could come. But I'm expecting some buyers to try to defend their positions once we reach these low levels, so watch it very, very carefully. Now, I just want to note that unfortunately, because we did invalidate the bullish divergence. This has been invalidated on SPY, which is telling us that right now, the chart is not really calling for as much of a bounce just yet, but technicals based off previous historical supports are saying that it's very possible. Now, I also want to add that the market's been selling off for October. It could sell off a little bit more, but the thing is, I believe that somewhere between 410 and about this like 418 areas where the bottom is going to be. I know it's kind of a big range, but compared to how much we've dropped, it's not the biggest of ranges. That's going to be the ultimate bottom for all of October. And I think that the market's going to bounce and start a really big bounce after over the next week to week and a half going into November. I think the market's going to bottom very, very soon. All right. So right now, watch these levels very carefully. If SPY tries to break out, it's right. If we, hit 418, try to like break out, watch 420 as resistance. If we get above 420 and hold it, I can see this thing pushing up for 422.25, which is where we have this resistance right here. If we break this, watch 423.6. So what do I think is going to happen? We're looking a little weak right now. We could see this thing kind of like once again shuffle in this 418 area. It depends on if we lose it or not. If we do lose it, then it could continue to sink a little bit lower before this thing makes an attempt to bounce. But if we, kind of like test this 418 area and bounce, you have to watch 420. Do we break above 420? If we break and hold 420, we could start to rebound a little bit more. If we end up breaking below 418, then we could start sinking just a little bit lower. My guts tells me we're going to see some consolidation here. Then one of these levels will break. So watch and see which way it breaks. I think it may drop a little bit more before we get a later bounce. That seems like the most likely move. As far as the QQQ goes, we're seeing something very similar. Now, the QQQ is continuing to sell off a bit. We came very close to the support line, but ended up bouncing just under it. So now we're going to be watching this resistance at 353.5. If we end up breaking down again, okay, you're going to be watching 352.5 as our support, 351.5, 350, then 348 as key supports. Now, as of right now, it's trying to push up for 353.5 as resistance. If this breaks, watch 355, and if we break that, watch 358. So we have a potential bear flag that could be forming. We could see this thing sink down and get very close to 350 and then get our nice bounce. We saw 351, but as of right now, it's trying to hold up. So watch this potentially come back down to these lows. It could drop a little bit. I'm going to be watching this chop around a bit, and I do believe it's going to try to bounce soon. A bounce should be coming very soon for the QQQ. So it could drop a little bit more. Could be watching it retest 352.5, then potentially even 350 if that breaks, and then a bounce should come. That's the direction I'm leaning in for the QQQ. For Nvidia stock, this thing ended up coming down. This is the zone we called out yesterday. This thing dropping to this like 407 to 409 area. And I just wanted to call out that when you look at Nvidia stock, it's not looking as, I would say, indecisive as some other tickers out there. If you look at it, we actually have a bullish divergence that developed right here, and the PPO is looking like it wants to cross over. So for Nvidia, I mean, if it does manage to lose this 407, which is very strong support, it could come all the way down to about 405. But I'm not really leaning in that direction. I would say that because of the bullish divergence, it's very likely that this thing could drop a little bit to retest 407, which should try to rebound and push back up towards this 416 area. 416.5 and 420 are possibilities, but we need to see buyers try to step in and defend and change this trend. So I think that it could drop a little bit, retest this liquidity zone, and then we could come right back up to these higher levels because we have a bullish divergence, and this is historical support, the historical support we called out yesterday. So the odds do favor, some kind of bounce on Nvidia. Unless 407 breaks, then that's when you should turn more bearish. Then it could come down to like 405, 402, and etc. But I'm not leaning in that direction. It looks like it may kind of like drop and then try to bounce again and start pushing up to higher levels. Make sure you watch this we have some resistance now at 415 because this is where we have this wick. 416.8, 420, and then 425 could come on Nvidia if we get that bounce. My gut tells me it'll drop and then pop from there. Apple stock, before I talk about Tesla, Apple is looking like I was calling out like this potentially testing 170 and trying to bounce, but I'm not 100% sure if it'll bounce from here. I mean, we have these wicks down here at like 169, also 168.5. So either, we see the buyers defend 170 and we see Apple try to rebound towards 172 to get this imbalance fill, or it drops a little bit lower towards like 169, a little tiny bit lower, and then we see this thing try to rebound and make its way back up into the 170s. So far, it's holding 170 quite decently, so we'll see if this holds. Look and see if this thing breaks down first and bounces, or if it bounces from here. Either way, I could see Apple making an attempt to bounce. Could drop a little bit more and then bounce, but I just think that it needs a little bit more time. Finally, for Tesla, this Tesla is very, very interesting. We were talking about this 210 support on Tesla. If it broke, we could see like 208. I told you all we might see Tesla drop a little bit more, but then I'm anticipating some kind of bounce. I think Tesla will bounce soon. It's just a little hard to tell exactly when, but the reason I'm saying that is because if you look at the technicals, it's super, super oversold on the 4 hour time frame. On the daily, when the RSI hits like 27 or very low levels like that, that's when we tend to see Tesla rebound. I mean, the lowest we've seen it hit is like 16, but that was back when Elon Musk was selling. Typically, it doesn't like sell off that much harder when the RSI is this low. And then to add on to that, on the 1 hour time frame, Tesla has a triple bullish divergence developing. On the 30 minutes time frame, we also have the same thing. It's a triple bullish divergence. So this tells us that Tesla's getting ready to bottom soon, and it's going to be bouncing very, very soon. So in my opinion, okay, it is possible we drop a little bit more on Tesla. I mean, it depends on if 208 holds. If we lose 208, Tesla could come all the way down towards 205 and then try to rebound all the way back up by like 10 points or so. Or if 208 holds, then this could be the bottom and we might see Tesla try to rebound. So it's got to be one of those two. Either drops a little bit more and rebalance off this liquidity zone, or just like test 208 and then bounces. But a bounce should be coming soon on Tesla. And we're going to be watching to see if we can try to get above 215. If it breaks 215, that's going to be your signal for it to like really start pushing. As of right now, it has some resistance, so watch it very, very carefully. All right, so watch for it to either test 208 and bounce, or it comes down to 205, and then maybe buyers should step in very close to that level. And if anything, Tesla ended up holding 208, which is the zone we called out yesterday. We will see if the buyers can defend it or not at these levels. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for this video. I hope this video was helpful for all the people out there. Once again, on SPY, we're seeing buyers trying to defend and trying to get it above 420, but we'll see if it could break or not. So watch these levels once again very carefully. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you guys very soon for the next one. Thanks again, and peace out.